I think when you are on your home floor and your team's getting announced and the coach is getting announced, I feel like there's no reason for any of that. I mean, we come out here and we do everything that we can to win, and I think Steph does a great job with us. Like, we love her and we appreciate her, and so to hear that, it was really annoying, honestly, and disrespectful.
That right there is where this stopped being just about Stephanie White. Aliyah Boston heard the boos, called them annoying and disrespectful, and suddenly the argument became bigger than whether one coach is popular, because now the players are telling paying fans how they should react. And that can get complicated fast.
Kelsey, what has Steph meant to this group, and heard the boos the other night, and maybe your reaction to that?
Threw me for a loop too. I told her to her face, I said, Coach, this is for you. In terms of just
Cleveland, this is for you.
a sense of confidence, a sense of awareness of that you're not alone.
Not alone.
If anybody know me, it's like I don't play that. It's like it really hurt my feelings to see her kind of like have emotions in terms of like not feeling valued and not feeling wanted in a place where she has to coach. At the end of the day, this is her job, and so she has to show it too. And I think that people don't really recognize that. And I think that it's our job to remind her. It's our cultures. It's our culture, and I think we have to remind her that our culture is not going to let her.
Kelsey Mitchell clearly sees this differently. From her perspective, White is not an internet controversy. She is a person Mitchell works with every day, somebody who coaches this team, deals with pressure, and apparently was genuinely affected by what happened in that arena. You can understand why a player would protect somebody inside her locker room, but understanding that does not settle the argument, because the people booing White are not inside that locker room. They are judging the product from the outside. Coaching decisions, public comments, wins and losses, how players are defended publicly, what happens when the team struggles. And those fans do not have to share the same relationship with White that Mitchell does. That distinction is going to matter later, because the strongest defense of White from the players may actually explain why the gap between this team and part of its own fan base keeps getting wider.
Welcome to sports, honey. Welcome to sports. If fans aren't satisfied, you know what they're going to do? They're going to voice their displeasure. And those fans in the building, they spent their money, they spent their time, and you know what else they did? They booed your coach because your coach told them all to go to hell. If you're critical of Stephanie White said, go to hell. Stephanie White not sticking up for her players. She said, go to hell. So you know what? Stephanie White's going to get booed. Stephanie White's going to get booed because that's their fans' right to.
And this is the other side of it. Booing is not some bizarre new phenomenon invented by angry Fever fans. Professional sports has always included public approval and public rejection. Fans cheer, fans groan, fans chant, fans boo. Sometimes fairly, sometimes emotionally, sometimes because they have completely lost patience. The uncomfortable question is not whether fans are allowed to dislike a coach. Of course they are. The better question is whether this particular reaction is just frustration over basketball, or whether White has become the symbol for a much bigger collection of grievances surrounding Indiana. Because once a coach becomes that symbol, every timeout becomes evidence. Every rotation gets dissected, every quote gets replayed, every loss pours gasoline onto something that already existed. And if the players believe the boos are simply disrespectful, while the fans believe the boos are accountability, neither side is even arguing about the same thing anymore.
Are you going to get the dub tomorrow? Hey, if the people in the building boo Stephanie White every single game, are you guys going to get every single dub from here on out? Hey, fans in attendance, y'all better boo. Hey, fans in attendance, y'all better boo this team. If they're gonna win all the games that she gets booed, we might boo her. Continue to boo her. Continue to boo. Hey, who am I? To hear that, it was really annoying, honestly, and disrespectful. AB.
Boston says the Fever kept the main thing, and went out to win. That is exactly what players should do. But notice what happens when the subject shifts from the court to the crowd. Her standard is basically that home fans should support the home team and its coach. That sounds reasonable until you remember what sports fans actually do when they believe the person running their team is hurting it. Knicks fans have booed ownership, NFL crowds have demanded coaches be fired, college crowds turn on coordinators, soccer supporters protest entire front offices. Nobody requires those fans to surrender their opinion, because the criticism happens inside the home building. Home court is not a loyalty oath. Fans buy access to the game. They do not buy an obligation to agree with management. And there is another wrinkle here. Boston and Mitchell are evaluating White from daily personal experience. Fans are evaluating White almost entirely through visible outcomes and public statements. Those two groups are using different evidence. Inside the building, players may see preparation, encouragement, relationships, and conversations the public never sees. Outside the building, fans see execution, strategy, accountability, and what gets said into microphones. Both experiences can be real at the same time.
Gosh, yikes. They're gonna have to get over it and accept that fans do not like their coach for various reasons. Just because y'all drank the Kool-Aid doesn't mean the fans have to. It is what it is. I'm telling you, we've hit an impasse. You'll get over it, yeah? Get over it, AB. Get over it, Kelsey. Get over it, CC. All you guys get over it.
This is where the commentary around the story becomes especially revealing. The frustration is no longer confined to, I disagree with the coach. It has moved into, why are the players defending her too? And that escalation matters. Because the Fever have an unusual problem. Their audience does not treat every player, coach, and front office decision as one package. A fan can love Caitlin Clark, support Kelsey Mitchell, appreciate Aliyah Boston, like Sophie Cunningham, and still believe Stephanie White deserves criticism. Those positions are not mutually exclusive, but once players frame booing White as disrespect toward the group, some fans will hear that as, if you support us, you must support her. That is the trap. Players naturally think in terms of team unity. Fans naturally think in terms of evaluation. A locker room survives because people protect relationships. A fan base operates almost the opposite way. It constantly separates who is helping from who is hurting. Neither system is strange. They just collide badly in public.
Well. If it isn't the consequences of your own actions. You know what I hear every time these players come out and speak about Stephanie White getting booed? This is what comes to my mind every single time.
It's not about, Tony. You guys can point the finger at him. You can talk about the vacation. And if you do that, it's really unfair. It's really unfair. It's my team. It's my quarterback. And if you guys do that, man, it's unfair.
It's unfair.
We lost as a team.
Yeah.
We lost as
That famous, that's my quarterback moment is being used here as a joke, but it accidentally makes a serious point. Teammates are supposed to defend teammates. Players are supposed to rally around their coach. If Kelsey Mitchell walked into a press conference and publicly piled onto White because fans were booing, that would create a completely different problem. So Mitchell defending her coach is not shocking. Boston defending her coach is not shocking. What would be shocking is if the entire locker room publicly abandoned its coach while the season was still being played. The mistake is treating those comments like some kind of referendum, proving fans must be wrong. Players defending White tells you something important about the internal relationship. It does not automatically tell you whether every criticism of White is invalid. That is a huge difference, and there is another thing worth watching. The more emotional this becomes, the less anybody talks about the specific complaints that created the hostility in the first place. Suddenly the story is about whether booing is mean, whether players feel hurt, whether fans are real fans. Those arguments are easier than addressing why the boos happened.
I told her to her face, I said, Coach, this is for you. In terms of just
Cleveland, this is for you.
a sense of confidence, a sense of awareness of that you're not alone.
Not alone.
If anybody know me, it's like I don't play that. It's like it really hurt my feelings to see her kind of like have emotions in terms of like not feeling valued and not feeling wanted in a place where she has to coach. At the end of the day, this is her job, and so, you know.
Listen closely to Mitchell again. She says she told White directly that this was for her, and she talks about not wanting White to feel alone. That tells you the booing registered inside the team. It was not background noise. It affected the coach emotionally enough that Mitchell noticed it, and it affected Mitchell enough that she wanted to publicly explain what White means to this group. Now imagine the same moment from the stands. A fan who has been unhappy with coaching hears that and probably thinks, good. Then the message was received. That sounds harsh, but that is exactly why booing exists as a sports language. It is crude, immediate feedback. Sometimes fans are wrong. Sometimes they are impatient. Sometimes they target the wrong person. But the point of booing is not to make the target feel supported. The point is to communicate dissatisfaction. So asking whether White was hurt by it does not answer whether the criticism was justified. Those are separate questions.
All of a sudden, everyone on the Fever knows how to open their mouth and condemn stuff. Interesting. Ooh. Hey, you're noticing, huh? Welcome to professional sports. Fans boo the coach when they're doing a dog shit job. The WNBA ain't surviving a team in Philly, man. These players are...
And now we reach the sharpest criticism from the fan side. Why does it seem like everybody suddenly found their voice when the person being criticized was Stephanie White? That feeling did not appear out of nowhere. This team has spent months under a microscope. Every hard foul, every officiating controversy, every post-game quote, and every outside attack turns into a national conversation because Indiana draws extraordinary attention. Fans remember which situations players address and which ones they do not. That does not mean every silence proves hypocrisy. Players have different information, different relationships, and different reasons for speaking. Sometimes they are instructed not to comment. Sometimes they simply do not want to feed a story. But fans keep receipts. If supporters believe their players were quiet when they wanted forceful public defense, then watch those same players quickly defend a coach from boos. Resentment is predictable. That is the first real payoff in this story. The booing itself is not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that a portion of this fan base no longer trusts the organization to prioritize the same things they prioritize. So every new statement gets filtered through that distrust.
Here's Aliyah Boston telling everybody that Kelsey Mitchell's the MVP of the team. Of the league.
AB, I'm not sure how much more you can say, but when you see Kelsey, who already is one of the best scorers in the world, get to this level, what does that say about her work ethic and the way she's playing?
Yeah, Kelsey comes in here and she works every day. I mean, she gets up extra shots. She just comes in and does what she needs to do. And I think, honestly, she's really just the MVP. Like, I think that's just what she's been doing. Every single night you see her come out and she drops, I don't even know how many points at this rate. She defends.
Then Boston moves on to basketball and gives Kelsey Mitchell massive praise, calling her an MVP-level player because of the work she puts in and what she produces every night. And this clip matters for a reason that has almost nothing to do with the MVP argument. It shows the culture these players are describing. They praise one another. They defend one another. They clearly value relationships inside the group. From their perspective, that cohesion might be one of the reasons the Fever continue competing through all the noise around them. If you are White, that is exactly the locker room you want. But strong internal culture does not cancel external accountability. In fact, the best organizations manage both. Players can love their coach while fans demand more from that coach. Players can believe a coach is helping them while fans question tactical decisions. The organization does not have to choose one reality and pretend the other does not exist. Where teams get themselves into trouble is when criticism from customers gets reclassified as disloyalty. Because then every disagreement becomes personal. You are no longer debating basketball. You are debating who qualifies as a legitimate supporter. That is a fight franchises almost never win.
CC, AB, and Kelsey all defended Steph. If you can't see how much they love her and how connected they are, you're not a real fan, and we don't want you in our fan base. Yeah, this is a message to me and all the haters out there. Oh, and AB called Kelsey the MVP. So if you don't agree with that too, you're definitely not welcome here.
There it is. If you can't see how much they love her and how connected they are, you're not a real fan. We don't want you in our fan base. Now, that is commentary surrounding the story, not a statement from the Fever themselves, and that distinction matters. But it perfectly captures where this debate is heading online. One group says the players love White, therefore fans should stop attacking her. Another group says the players' affection is irrelevant because fans are evaluating her job performance. And those two arguments can circle each other forever, because neither one disproves the other. Suppose every player in the locker room genuinely loves Stephanie White. That is valuable. It matters. Coaches need trust. But sports history is filled with well-liked coaches who were criticized because results, tactics, or expectations did not align. The inverse is true too. There have been extremely successful coaches whose relationships with players were complicated. Popularity inside a locker room is evidence about leadership. It is not the entire job description. Fans should not pretend personal relationships mean nothing. Players should not pretend personal relationships settle every performance debate. That middle ground is less exciting than choosing a side, but it is closer to reality.
Because your coach told them all to go to hell. If you're critical of Stephanie White said, go to hell. Stephanie White not sticking up for her players. She said, go to hell. So you know what? Stephanie White's going to get booed. Stephanie White's going to get booed. Because that's their fans' right to do. If you watch the games, you can voice your displeasure. If you waste your time on this league, you can voice your displeasure. If you spend any time on this league, you can voice your... It is what it is.
And this is where we have to deal with the phrase sitting underneath the entire controversy. The claim that White effectively told critics to go to hell. That framing is obviously driving a huge amount of the anger in this commentary. If fans believe a coach publicly dismissed legitimate criticism of her or the team, then the boos do not feel random to them. They feel like a response. But this is exactly where context matters more than internet shorthand. A heated statement can be aimed at a particular criticism, a particular group, or a particular moment, and then become generalized online into, "She told every fan to go to hell." Those are not necessarily the same thing. So the strongest version of the fan argument should not depend on exaggerating what White meant. It does not need to. If somebody dislikes her coaching, explain the basketball reasons. If somebody believes a public comment was inappropriate, quote the complete context and criticize that. If somebody thinks she failed to defend a player strongly enough, point to the statement and explain what response they wanted instead. Specific criticism is harder to dismiss, and that is also where the player's defense becomes more understandable. They may hear the broad version of the attack and feel White is being reduced to one sentence, while they experience hundreds of hours with her behind the scenes. That is probably why the two sides are talking past each other.
With a brain on this team, ask Ubisoft and EA how they're doing now after going against their customers and fan base. Wow, exactly. You'll get over it and worry more about your fans who can go to hell. Damn! Yeah, they don't really like us that much, huh? They're not fans of us.
The comparison here to companies fighting their customers is dramatic, but there is a business lesson buried inside it. Professional teams are not normal consumer products because fandom is emotional. People do not switch basketball teams the way they switch phone brands. That loyalty gives organizations enormous protection, but it also creates enormous expectations. A fan who has spent years following a team, buying tickets, purchasing merchandise, and giving hours of attention often feels ownership without actually owning anything. That is part of the psychology of sports. They say we won. They say we need a center. They say our coach blew that game. The business actively encourages that identification because emotional attachment drives value. Then when fans use that emotional investment to criticize decisions, organizations cannot suddenly act surprised that the audience feels involved. You cannot market belonging only when the crowd is cheering. The boos are part of the same relationship. And Indiana, more than most teams, is dealing with an audience whose expectations changed extraordinarily fast. The spotlight is bigger. Every decision is louder. Every statement travels further. The pressure that used to exist at one level now exists at another. That is not always fair. But it is the environment.
To hear that, it was really annoying, honestly, and disrespectful. AB. Hearing your coach to tell you to go to hell is kind of disrespectful and annoying, too. Honestly. Oh, gosh. Yikes. They're going to have to get over it and accept that fans do not like their coach for various reasons. Just because y'all drank the Kool-Aid doesn't mean the fans have to. It is what it is.
This is the second major payoff. The phrase, "we love her," matters deeply inside the locker room, but it has almost no power over somebody who has already decided the coach is not meeting expectations. That fan is not required to drink the Kool-Aid. And the opposite is also true. Critics are not entitled to demand that Boston or Mitchell publicly denounce somebody they respect just because the internet is angry. This relationship only becomes toxic when either side demands obedience from the other. Fans saying, "You must hate your coach because I do," is unreasonable. Players saying, "You must support our coach because we do," would be equally unreasonable. The healthiest version is simpler. Players play, coaches coach, fans react, then everybody lives with the results. If White wins enough, and the Fever look organized, disciplined and dangerous, many of these boos will disappear without a single press conference explaining why people should stop. Sports has the most effective reputation management strategy ever invented: winning. And if the criticism continues despite winning, then you can start asking whether something else is driving it. But trying to emotionally negotiate with a crowd is rarely going to work.
We lost to the team, man.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome to sports, ladies of the WNBA. Wow. It's it's a cruel world out here. Annoying. They need to shut this league down.
Welcome to sports sounds dismissive, but there is truth in it. The WNBA is experiencing something that comes with greater attention. Louder praise and louder criticism. You cannot ask to be treated like a major professional sports league, and then be shocked when the ecosystem starts behaving like major professional sports. Coaches get blamed, stars get criticized, officials get destroyed online, front offices hear chants, players become subjects of endless debate. Some of it is insightful, some of it is ridiculous, some of it crosses lines and should be condemned. Personal threats, harassment, and abuse are not legitimate sports criticism, but booing a coach during introductions is nowhere near that category. That is ordinary fan expression. And if this league continues growing, everyone involved is going to experience more of it, not less. The larger the audience, the less control any team has over the narrative surrounding it.
Yikes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Like the video, hype the video, subscribe to the channel. That means so much to me. It's getting intense out here. It's getting intense out here. The clash.
So where does this actually leave Indiana? Not with some dramatic player versus fan civil war. That would be overstating it. What it reveals is a real fault line. Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston appear to strongly support Stephanie White. That tells us White still has important voices inside her locker room. Any serious analysis has to acknowledge that. At the same time, a portion of the paying audience clearly does not share that confidence. And telling those people their reaction is disrespectful will not make the frustration disappear. Only the product can do that. Better execution can do it. Better results can do it. Better communication can do it. A long enough stretch of basketball that makes the criticism look outdated can do it. And that is why this story is more interesting than a few boos. The players are protecting the culture inside the team. The fans are demanding accountability from outside the team. Both believe they are defending the Fever. That is the irony. The people booing White probably do not think they are hurting Indiana. They think they are demanding better for Indiana. The players defending White probably do not think they are dismissing fans. They think they are protecting someone who has invested in them and deserves support. Same team, completely different definition of loyalty. The next move belongs to the basketball. Because if Indiana starts stacking wins and looks like a team capable of making serious noise, this entire argument changes. Fans have forgiven far more controversial coaches once winning became consistent. If the same frustrations keep appearing, however, every boo will become louder, because supporters will feel like they warned everybody already. So pick a side on the actual question. When home fans believe a coach is failing them, should they keep booing until the organization gets the message? Or should they back off because the players have made it clear they still believe in Stephanie White? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want more Fever and WNBA breakdowns without pretending every controversy has an easy answer, like the video and subscribe.